Welcome back to Midwest Girls.
Hi, everybody.
How's it going? Today, I am super pumped because we have a guest that is near and dear to my heart. It's my father-in-law, Bruce Baer.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! And you're a dad. You're a dad to me. And for background, like, he built this house I'm sitting in right now. He loves his kids. He loves Christ. And we kind of feel that the Lord has led us today to him sharing his testimony on the podcast, because we've been saying we want to have more people on. So here is a great place to start.
Yeah.
But here's a funny thing. When I moved here, I was usually asked one of these two questions, if not both. First one being, which Baer boy did you marry? And then they would maybe like go through this. Was it Wes? Was it blah? Was it Jesse? Blah, blah, blah. And then the second, once they realized I was married to one of the Baer boys, they would go, oh, the ball player. So are you the ball player's daughter? I'm like, yes, I am. So, because back in the day, and I would say still now, youth basketball star, like well known in these parts. So,
Yes.
that's my intro.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I ruined the gene pool with music.
Well, I was going to tell Mike, after listening to you guys Sunday, I can't run down the basketball floor anymore, but I could probably play a guitar
Hey, there you go.
if I'd have been in band.
Yeah, that's what I said the other day.
It's never too late to learn.
That's true. Look at that.
I can't clap to the drums. So.
You can clap. I've seen you.
Yeah, but
You can get a tambourine.
I usually have to look over here and see if I'm in sync with everybody else.
Watching. Did you guys, another funny story, did you see me clapping on the stage trying to get people going?
No, but I heard you.
So sad. No one joined me in church.
It's the effort that counts.
I tried. Sorry, Snuff. I tried. Okay. Anyways, Bruce, do you want to just start or?
Sure.
All right.
I was saved on March 10th, 1993, so it's like 30 years ago. So I might be bouncing around quite a bit.
That's okay.
Because I haven't really given my full testimony for really probably close to 20 years. And I've given small sections of it over the years, but I've never really given it all the way from beginning to end. But I grew up in the church. We went to church every Sunday, and it was a Lutheran church. So we did the catechism, learned Bible verses and sayings, and you say during the church service. And so we were pretty regulars. Once I got to college, I didn't go very much, which a lot of college kids do, but that's no excuse. And I grew up. I got good grades in school, A's and B's, some C's, and I was like Megan said, I played basketball. And the only reason I bring this up, because you'll see in a few minutes why I brought it up, but I did well. I had district honors and all state honors in high school. And then I went to Defiance College, and I was at district, state, and national honors in basketball.
He did more than well. People are still talking about
Yes.
it.
I've probably only ever told a handful of people, but after one of my games, they told me Detroit Pistons had come down to watch my game.
Bruce, I didn't know that.
I obviously didn't turn out very well. I was good, and I wished I'd been a whole lot better. Let's just leave it at that. But the reason I brought this up, and I'm going to jump way forward almost to the end because it ties in perfectly now. When I got back from the Mexico mission trip, and I had accepted Christ on the trip, I was really excited. I wanted to share in church. And so I stopped in and talked to Pastor Rice and explained it to him, and he was all for it. And but Patty was at her mom's in Columbus. I wanted to do it this was like a Saturday, and I wanted to do it on Sunday. And he says, well, we'd probably better wait until Patty was there. So I said, that's fine. We can do it the following week. And after I gave my introduction about the athletics, and I figure I accomplished a lot of stuff on my own as all me. And but the interesting thing is, the special music that day. We used to have special music every Sunday, and the two girls sang the song, and it was about, I have all these trophies and awards, and why can't I get into heaven? And if I had gave it the previous week,
Yeah.
I had no idea that was going to be the songs,
Yeah.
and that was just so cool. I thought, wow, it's not a, I would at one point I would say that's really a coincidence, but anymore,
It's not,
It's a
no.
God thing
It
for
is
them
a
to
God
me be talking about trophies and the song to be about trophies and not getting into heaven. So.
Wow.
So I graduated from college, started teaching in Toledo, Ohio. Patty, my future wife, was in Columbus, and we were both set up by good friends of ours who were dating. So it was a blind date. Went okay. I always say she had too many boyfriends in her calendar, but she says we live too far away.
Yeah.
So anyway, we had a date, had a good time. Didn't really keep in touch or anything. And the following year, we were both in the wedding of the two people set us up.
Yeah.
And she was standing outside, and I drove up, and I go, oh my gosh, like, who is that? And she was stunning. I just couldn't believe it. So I always tell everybody we fell in love at first sight the second time.
The second time. I like it.
So we got married in 1980. We moved to Indianapolis, and she was a state appellate court judge secretary at the state house in Indianapolis. I was in sales. We were interested in starting to have kids because I was 28, I think, when we got married, and she was like 25, so we were ready. And she was a little bit concerned about being able to get pregnant. And the next thing I know, she says, I'm pregnant. I go, wait, what? And I was...
Right away.
Yeah, I was like right now. I thought, oh, wow, well, I guess that's no problem. So we had Wes. Things went well. She continued working, which was hard for her, not to be with Wes. And next thing she knows, she says, I'm pregnant. I go, wait, what? And she was pregnant for twins with Jesse, and this Wes was born in 82, and Jesse would have been born in 83, so it didn't take long, and it was twins, and that was quite a shock. All along, I'd wanted to move back to Ohio and get into farming. That was my ultimate goal, and I did not enjoy sales. I did not like traveling, and so we agreed to move back, and I'd gotten a construction job here in Van Wert, building bridges and doing sewer and pipeline in city systems. I'd moved back. Well, I'd go back to Indianapolis on the weekends, and I was working. And my parents stopped by one day, say, "Hey, Patty went into labor," and I said, "You need to get to Indianapolis as soon as you can." And they're kind of holding off, but they can't, probably very long. And she was only, I think, 26 weeks along, so it was way early. They were due in November, and it was, late August, so it was not a good thing. By the time I got there, both the boys had been born. It was a C-section, and they wanted to name them right away because they didn't know how long they would survive. Because I think, I don't know, the survival rate was 50% back then at that age, and they kept pressing her. We need to name them. We need to name them because they're not very well. And they called them Boy A and Boy B. And she wanted waited till I got there before they named them. So I showed up eventually, and we named Adam and Jesse were the twins, and they were intensive care nursery because they were so small. And I tell people they would have fit in the palm of my hand. Their torso would have fit, and their fingers and legs. My finger was the size of their finger and legs. That's or their arm and legs. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And and they could not breathe on their own. We breathed 21% oxygen, and they would start to struggle. Since she had a C-section, we'd go back to the room once in a while, and so she could rest. And then they'd come down the room and say, "Hey, like Adam's not doing very well. You probably should come down to the nursery and spend some time with him." And I wasn't really spending time with them because they're in isolate, and you had to put your hand in a glove through the hole.
Right.
And Patty would be there for hours, just
Oh, I can't imagine.
caressing them with a glove.
Yeah.
And so we'd go down there. Next thing you know, they start getting better. Say, well, he'd come out of it, okay. Go back to the room, be there for I don't know how long. They come down, well, Jesse's not doing very well. You probably better come down and spend some time with him. So this went, I don't know how many times, but just once was enough. So we went back and forth several times expecting one of them to die. And they always seemed to pull out. Originally we thought Jesse was the one who wasn't going to survive, because Adam had better numbers and signs and stuff. He looked like he's going to do better than Jesse. Well, Adam dropped off a cliff. He just went south real fast. And like I started to say, we breathed 21% oxygen, and Adam was up to 100% almost.
Wow.
So he was getting straight oxygen. And the trouble with that is it causes brain bleeds. And Adam was having grade level 4 brain bleeds, and they said, he won't never be normal. He will have zero brain function. So we had a struggle on what to do. After discussing and praying about it, we said, well, no more life-saving, let him survive on his own.
Yeah.
And he ended up passing away after 2 days. And we finally got a hold of him. We went into a separate room. We was able to hold him. Like I say, just no bigger in your hand. And I always reminded me, I don't know did you guys ever dissect frogs in high school?
Yeah.
I didn't.
You never
I
did?
Yeah.
It's gross.
Well, we
I was
would
in the art
dissect
class.
frogs in high school, and that's what they look like. They're just, real, like I said, no muscle on the bones or nothing, real tiny, and just kind of laid out there. And that's what it looked like. But anyway, we finally got a hold of him, and I don't know why, but we ended up really holding them for, it was minutes. It was not a long period of time. And so that was all the time we got to spend with Adam on a personal basis.
Yeah.
And then we didn't have the funeral right away because we didn't think Jesse was going to make it.
Right.
So we decided to wait about a week to see how Jesse was going to do. And from day one, Jesse, I don't know how many times he fought back, but he always, of course you probably deal with that now, but Jesse he would always fight his way back and come out of it.
Spoiler alert, I'm married to Jesse. If you don't know that yet, if you haven't picked that up.
So anyway, Jesse, he would come out of it. Like I say, this is 30 years ago. So we, like I said, I would go back every weekend because I was still working. Patty was, she would stay with her sisters, and poor Wes, Wes was
Just a baby.
just
a baby himself.
little over a year old, and missing his mom and everything. So Patty had to deal with that situation as well. But her sister is a real gem and would take care of Wes like it was her own.
Yeah.
And I was coming back to Ohio. I was not a happy camper with God at the time. Like I say, I grew up in church and said, why are you doing this to me?
What did I do to deserve
Yeah,
this?
I was very upset, and I struggled all the time. Patty's mom was a born again Christian, and she said, "Oh, he's going to be all right," and it just rubbed me the wrong way a lot of times. Jesus will make it work. Oh, okay, whatever.
But it doesn't feel all right to me right now. How can you say that?
Yeah, it was a real struggle with me, and the whole time, Jesse, get better, come out of it, get better, come out of it. So we finally moved her and Jesse to Fort Wayne, so it would be closer for me, and we could be more of a family, see each other more often. And I always hated for the phone to ring because every time the dang phone rang, he's not doing well.
That's how it was with Kim.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean.
You just cringe. You didn't want a phone to ring.
Yeah.
And I was down by Bell Fountain. We were building a bridge, and I got a phone call. And I knew right then this is not good.
Yeah.
So Patty said, "Well, you better come over because he's not doing very well, and he may not make it through the night or whatever." So I left work early, cussing and swearing all the way home. It was about an hour drive. I got home. We were raising pigs at that time, feral to finished pigs. And I went into the furring house, and the very first crate, she had 10 of the most beautiful pigs you'd ever want as far as healthy and size and stuff.
Yeah.
And she laid on like 5 of them, and they were dead. And we were, it was hard financially for us to begin with, and then to have something like that happen. I'd had enough, and I roughed her up pretty good.
Yeah.
She couldn't get out of the crate, and I was beating on her pretty hard. So I finished the chores. And this was 30 years ago. And as I was walking to the house, I just stopped there and looked up at the sky, and I started cussing God out. Why me? I mean, I'm a good person. What did I do to deserve this? And I used the F-bomb numerous times. And finally I got to the point, I said, just strike me dead. I've had enough. I told him to strike me with lightning.
It was a challenge.
Because I didn't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
And I actually stood there looking up in the sky, like with my hands up, take your best shot. And nothing happened. And I said, that's just exactly what I thought.
Ooh.
You're just a make-believe story in a make-believe book. You have no power, you're nothing. You could have taken me out and you didn't, so, what kind of a super powerful being are you, And I just let him have it. So I got done cussing him out and went to the house, got ready, went over. See Jesse in Fort Wayne, and as usual, Jesse came roaring back.
I'm so glad he did.
He'd come back, and so we decided to send him back to Indianapolis because we didn't feel that care there would be as good as it was in a big city. So I went back to Indianapolis, and then I'm driving back and forth to do all this. And finally, I don't know, it might have been about his normal birth date. He said, well, you can take him home now. He was born at like 2 pounds 1 ounce, so they were tiny. And he actually was below 2 for a while because he lost some weight. And they said once he hits 4 pounds, you can bring him home. And we thought he was huge.
Yeah. But
I bet so.
Normal newborns, Paige was 8 pounds,
Yeah.
and Adam was 7 pounds. And yes,
I
we
think
always knew we were going because of Jesse and Adam.
Yeah.
We, from the get-go, we knew if we had a boy, his name was Adam.
Yep. And but you can't believe how 2 to 4 pounds was major for us. And we brought him home. We actually could have used a shoebox for a bed.
Oh, goodness.
That's the size he was.
You wouldn't know it now looking at him.
No.
You wouldn't.
No, and that's just the beginning. that's not everything else.
That's not even it.
That's
Right.
not everything else Jesse did for us.
Jesse.
Did for us.
So anyway, we finally got him home. Things kind of got to a normal life for us. I was still working construction. Patty was taking care of the boys, and Jesse was born in '83. I'm right?
Yeah, you're right. Yep, you're right.
Because my wife Patty will watch us, and she'll probably correct a lot of things I've said. But anyway, in '84, on Jesse's birthday. I was working on a construction job in Baer, Ohio, and it was almost quitting time. I was thinking, well, I got to go store and get something for Jesse for his birthday, because it was almost 4 or 5 in the afternoon. We only had like an hour left.
Yeah.
And we've been putting a 4-foot tall concrete tile in the ground for sewer lines for the city of Van Wert. The trench was 9 feet deep, and I had been in the trench all day, and think nothing of it, which is, I'm tall, but it was still 3 feet over my head. Hands on the wall all day long, just doing what you do when you're in the trench. And I ended up getting on top of the tile, talking to some of the guys working there, plus they was getting ready to set another tile in. So I had to get out of the way, and we would always check the grade on the tile by sticking a stick inside the tile and looking for a laser light to hit that stick to know you need to go up or down. And I was on my hands and knees, bent over looking into the trench, or the tile, and one of the guys said, "Look out." And I no more started to move. I felt something hit me in the back. And the wall had caved in, and I don't really know, but it roughly maybe 2 foot by 4 foot wide section, and I don't know how tall, fell in on my back, which, may not sound like much, but to give you kind of an idea, the big bags of rock salt for water softeners, they weigh about 80 pounds. Or like you lift a full bucket of water, it's pretty heavy, but that's a lot less than dirt or 5-gallon bucket of gravel. Pick up a 5-gallon bucket full of stones someday.
Yeah.
It's 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And I got hit by several of them.
Yeah.
I did not get covered up. A lot of the dirt rolled into the trench and on top of the tile itself. So it was just, I got hit with a big chunk in the middle of my lower back, or my whole back, I guess, probably. And I got out of the trench, and after it was all said and done, the guys working there said, "Well, we barely helped you out of the trench." And which is amazing.
You don't remember?
No, I don't remember. I just remember I felt like I was in a giant trash compactor. Like I just felt like something pressing me.
Like Star Wars.
Yeah. That probably felt like Star Wars. Yes, that's exactly what it felt like. And when you
It's adrenaline.
and
Pulls
yeah,
you out.
and I used to always say I was lucky, and I was lucky at that point in my mind. I was lucky because I could have paralyzed myself just climbing out of the trench. So I got to the Baer Hospital, intensive care. They said they didn't want to put me on pain pills because, tell me about it. They didn't want to give me very much pain medication because my breathing was very bad. And the reason the breathing was bad was my one lung was flattened, broke all my ribs. Part of my rib cage is pushed up on the other part of my rib cage, so I got it looks like a deck of cards, lump on my rib cage. Like I say, I broke all my ribs, broke 2 vertebrae in my lower back, T11, T12. One vertebrae was broken and the other one just shattered.
Yeah.
And to have that happen and not cut your spine is a miracle. And at that point, I was still saying I was lucky.
Yeah.
I was lucky I wasn't paralyzed from the waist down. Or after I was in Fort Wayne for a week, a guy got killed in the trench cave-in after I was hurt pretty bad in Manward. So trenches are pretty dangerous. They usually have boxes to hold the walls back, but we weren't using them that day.
Yeah.
And so it took me to Fort Wayne, and I was in intensive care for 3 weeks. While I was in intensive care in 3 weeks, Jesse was in a hospital in Coldwater, Ohio, an hour away. And here's poor Patty once again. Which direction do I go?
Yep.
And he was down in Coldwater with respiratory problems because with that kind of oxygen on your lungs, it causes damage.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was in for, I'm not sure, bronchitis.
So he's like a year old, a year and a half.
Year old is his
Okay.
birthday.
Oh, it was on his birthday.
It was on
that's
his
right.
birthday,
Yeah,
1
that's
year on
right.
his birthday. What's the odds of that happening?
Yeah.
No kidding.
And so he was down in Coldwater in hospital. So Patty got him permission to bring Jesse to Fort Wayne, where I was at.
My goodness.
Yeah. And let's see what else.
I experienced that once in my life where Jesse was in the hospital when we were, Paige was a newborn, and it's small beans compared to that, but he had this wound on his leg, and anyways, he had to be admitted to the hospital. Well, my mom came down to help with Paige, and Paige hit her head pretty good and needed stitches, so I was going back and forth in Columbus there for like, not very long, because stitches isn't, you know, but I was stressed by just that.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my goodness, he's in the hospital. Now I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Now I'm that. I'm going back, and that felt massive. So I can't even imagine.
Well, Patty was convinced I was going to die
Yeah,
because I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
She thought it was a lot
I
more
would've been
internal
too.
damage.
I would have been convinced too.
Yeah.
yeah.
She
Especially after everything that everybody's just went through.
yeah, she was really concerned. Of course, I was out of it, so I didn't know.
Wow.
I was too busy picking bugs off me.
You were that out of it.
yeah,
Wow.
hallucinating. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I always get a kick out of one of my best friend from high school. He showed up one day. He just walked in the intensive care room.
Oh.
Didn't get permission. He just walked in. And I don't know why, for whatever reason, I looked up. I go, "What the heck happened to you?"
You don't know why you said
What? He looked like he had two big black eyes.
it. Oh, so weird.
I was hallucinating.
Yeah.
And he looked like he had two big black eyes. And I said, "What the heck happened to you?" And he looks down at me and he says, "What the heck happened to you?"
Oh my goodness.
And that's the only thing I remember
That's
in
it.
intensive care. And poor Patty was there for 24/7 for 3 weeks.
Isn't that just the friend
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
So what was Patty's worldview at this point? Like, was she kind of like you? Like, well, church is just kind of what I did.
She got saved in high school.
Mhm.
I don't, maybe 17 or whatever. So she knew what being saved was all about. And in the Lutheran Church, you don't really talk about being saved. You just say the creed. It says, "I believe."
Yeah, the Apostles' Creed.
Apostles' Creed. You
Yeah.
believe in that stuff. So that was the only real experience I had to be born again.
So we like religion over relationship. Would that be fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just a religion. Yeah. You just go to church. That's what people do. Small communities.
Check the box.
Check the box.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, she was saved, but not going to church. We did try to find a few churches. I'm not sure how the boys are a little bit older, but we couldn't find one we didn't like. Or we did like, I mean. And so I ended up having to get a body cast on for my inseam to my chest. I had a body cast.
Mm.
And because they wanted to stabilize it, and they didn't trust me because I was so active. And Patty said, "Yeah, your body cast."
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was shoveling manure with the body cast on.
I would do the same with Jesse. Like, no, he won't stop. He won't.
So I abused it, so it was a good thing I had it on.
Yeah.
And I had to wear sweatpants. Nowadays that might be cool, but back then, the only pants I could wear were sweatpants.
Oh, jeez.
But I was still raising the livestock, and I couldn't get a job, or I couldn't go to work because I was on workers' comp. And so I didn't have to go to work, and we were getting some money from workers' comp.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody had to take care of livestock, and it wasn't anybody's responsibility but my own.
Yeah.
So every day I would come at lunch, and I'd lay on my back with my head against the kitchen cabinets, put my plate on my stomach, and eat my lunch
Oh my goodness.
because my back was in so much pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I take a lot of pain. I mean, I could run on a broken leg. I can take pain, but that was bad enough. I had to rest my back every day.
Wow.
And see, that was in 84. Had back surgery. This is where I'm starting to get confused. I think I had back surgery a year later because it was not getting better.
Okay.
And I said something to the doctor. I said, "Well, when's it going to get better?" He said, oh, he says, it's only going to get worse.
Mm.
And I said, well, when's that going to be? And he says, about 10 years, you'll be in pretty bad shape.
Oh dear.
And I was only, 32 at the time.
Yeah.
So I had 2 Harrington rods put in my back. They're about 8 inches long, about the size of a pencil. And they tied 7 vertebrae together, so I had 1 big vertebrae instead of 7.
Mm.
And he said, you'll have a lot of abuse on the top end and the bottom end, and that's why in 10 years you'll be in a lot of trouble.
Mm-mm.
I said, okay. And so I got the rods in. Craig was born that year, and here's my numbers again, 85. And so it went pretty well for that year, as well as could be expected. And then Jesse was playing in a house with some neighbor kids. Melissa Rager, good friends of ours at that time, lived in town. And Jesse was running around the house. He'd run, fall down, run, fall down. He kept running, falling down. We thought, well, this is Jesse.
Fashion.
Yeah. Sometimes I still think Jesse got too much oxygen in his brain. He had some brain bleeds we didn't know about because he's such a goofy character. And he kept falling down. So I took him upstairs, put him in bed. We figured he was just tired. Hour later, whatever, we heard him crying upstairs. I said, come on down. I said, come up and get me. I said, well, come on down. It's a conversation like that. Well,
If you're a parent, you know.
Yeah.
So he kept crying. So I said, all right. So I went up and got him, and I picked him up. And his legs were like wet noodles or wet spaghetti, cooked spaghetti, just flopping, nothing there. I thought, oh my gosh, this can't be good. So I brought him downstairs. Patty called the cold water, or pediatrician was in cold water. I don't know why. I suppose I think they're better with preemies. So he loaded him up in the car. Of course, Wes and Craig. My parents took him,
Mm-hmm.
and she was still breastfeeding Craig at the time, actually. So
Really?
that's how young he was.
Yeah.
And took him down there, and she was very concerned. The pediatrician said, well, you need to take him to Columbus Children's Hospital to see what's going on. So we drove from there to Columbus, and the whole time, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Why are you punishing me? We're good people. We don't deserve to be treated like this. And I was, swearing again at him. So we get down to Columbus, and they originally thought it was a disease called Guillain-Barré.
Mm-hmm.
It's a paralysis thing.
Yeah.
They ruled that out, and they end up diagnosing it as transverse myelitis.
Mm-hmm.
Transverse meaning it starts your feet, works up your body, and goes back down.
Mm-hmm.
And wherever it stops in that transverse is the damage that is caused. And what it is, the proteins, your immune system attacks the proteins in your spine, and they have to match. They match in a particular fashion, and it flushes them out. Well, for some reason, his immune system was matching the proteins in his spine. It was trying to destroy his spine.
Mm.
So that's what had paralyzed him. And at the time, they said whatever he regains in 6 months is what he will end up with for life. And while we were at Children's Hospital, we got a wheelchair for him. Tires, maybe 16-inch tires.
Oh.
Little wheelchair.
Little wheelchair.
You should see. We got videos.
Family videos.
Oh.
It's
It's heartbreaking but cute.
Here's Jesse. Once again, I'm thinking he got too much oxygen. Had brain bleed because he's zipping up down the hallway, just laughing and giggling, had a fine old time.
Yeah.
Not really aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
He thought it was cool.
That's Jesse.
The innocence of a child,
Yeah.
too.
So he was paralyzed from the waist down. It did affect his bladder. At that point in time, his bladder would only hold maybe 10% of what a normal kid at his age would hold.
Mm-hmm.
So we brought him home, had a wheelchair, They said he'd have to learn to crawl and walk all over again, if he could, if it would happen. And he had a walker, a miniature walker, like you see older people using, or had surgeries or whatever. He had a little walker. He'd, hop all around the house. Eventually, we put fiberglass braces on his leg. It went under his foot and up his calf. And he wore them for quite a while. I don't remember how long or anything, but he would run with them. Of course, he'd run kind of funny and stuff. And eventually got to the point where I didn't have to use braces anymore, but he did fall down a lot.
Yeah.
We always kind of giggle because Patty would take him for checkups in Lima, and they would bring social services down because his knees were always
so
bruised
Yeah.
and he was so skinny. They thought we were misusing him. And Patty said, well, you take him and raise him if you think. But he was falling down so much, we took basketball elbow pads and cut them down and made knee pads for him.
Yeah.
So he wore knee pads to protect his knees.
How long did it take for him to get even to that? Like, how much time had passed from being paralyzed to?
Well, I don't know exactly. I don't remember. I probably should have went over some of this with Patty, but he started using the walker pretty quick. I think, if I remember.
So I remember Patty telling me that there was a point where they're basically like, don't get your hopes up. He's probably not going to walk.
Yeah.
And she saw his toe move, and she said to the doctor, I saw his toe move, and the doctor was like, no.
Oh, really?
No, I don't think you did. And Patty, correct me if I'm wrong, this is how I'm remembering it. But she was like, yes, I did. And from there, he just was getting better. And that was a miracle.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, oh, yeah. There's a lot of miracles. Like I said, all along I used to say it was lucky or coincidence. And that's why I forgot to mention that. Like I said, I'll probably keep remembering details, but when I was in the hospital with my back, every doctor come in and says, I can't believe you're not paralyzed.
Yeah.
One doctor, and I've seen several, they could not believe with that, looking at my chart and see the extent of the damage, I could not walk out. It was so obvious that when I was checking, they took me down to the release point in a wheelchair, and the lady who checked me out of the hospital says, I can't believe you're walking out of here.
Yeah.
Even this lady, I don't know what her medical background was, but she was shocked that I wasn't paralyzed.
So that's a miracle too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But at that point I said, yeah, I was pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Everything, I always told people I was lucky.
You didn't see God's hand in it.
No, oh no. It was his fault.
Yeah, you were blaming him.
Yeah.
Right.
So, let's see, where are we at?
Craig's
born.
Craig's born.
As if raising babies
I
isn't hard
know,
enough.
I know.
Patty's dealing with
Well,
all
yeah.
of this.
Three boys.
I can't remember how long Jesse was in the Columbus Hospital, but Craig and Westford in Indianapolis again.
Right. Aunt Pam.
Yeah.
Aunt Pam took the boys again while we were trying to deal with Jesse. Let's see, so we got out, following year Evan was born, so we had 5 boys in 4 years,
Oh my goodness.
which was a handful. Thank God for Patty, I can tell you that. So things seemed to be pretty normal at that point, other than the fact I was still having a tremendous amount of back pain and just sucking it up and dealing with it. And we started going to Trinity Friends Church. Mike and Farrah Owens invited us because we could not find a church that we liked. And from the very beginning, we were just thrilled with it. I liked contemporary music, but we hadn't really had contemporary music in church. And Dwayne Rice is a fire and brimstone preacher. So we were tickled pink about both of that aspect. So we started going to Trinity.
I was meant to be your daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
Music.
And went to Sunday school class with Bruce Baker all the time. And most people get saved because of Book of John, John 3:16. But most of mine was based on the Book of James.
I knew you were gonna say the Book of James. I almost said, "Don't tell me the Book of James."
Oh yeah. And the reason is, it starts out, consider suffering per joy,
Ugh.
and I'm going, yeah,
What?
right.
Yeah. Honestly, that's a lot of suffering.
And
I've
in
never
a
had
short amount of
anything like
time.
that in my life.
Oh, it
That
was
tumultuous.
in 3 years.
Mhm.
Went through all 3 catastrophes in 3 years' time,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and that always made me mad. They talk about,
Joy and suffering.
yeah, enjoy suffering, and I'm not sure what Bible verse it is, but praise God.
Mhm.
And I'm going, yeah, I'm supposed to thank Him for
For everything that I've gone through.
all those things. Yeah, like that's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
And so we went to Sunday school all the time, and I always heard all that stuff about how great God was, and praise Him all the time and everything. And I'd never settled very well with me at that point. And we were in church one day, and they were asking for people to go on a mission trip to Mexico City.
Mhm.
And it was construction. So I had construction experience.
Bruce is very skilled with construction. I mean, really, this
Right.
house I'm sitting in, Bruce and Jesse built it. It's amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Well, anyway, they announced it at the beginning of the church service, and I almost thought somebody was telling me, "You need to go."
Yeah.
And I'm having this argument
In your head.
in my head. You need to go. I said, I can't go. I got baby pigs being born and 4 boys and all this. I said, there's no way I can go. And you need to go. I said, I'm not going. It ain't happening.
That's how it usually goes.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. And I was to the point where I almost turned around and looked behind me
It
to
was that intense.
Mhm.
see who was telling me you have to go on this mission trip.
Wow.
And I said, no. So I had this argument in my head for an hour.
You missed the whole sermon.
Yeah. And finally, yeah, I did.
I've had that before.
I've had that
And
happen.
finally I said, okay, I'll go. I'll tell him I'll go, but I have no money to do it.
Yeah.
I can't afford to go. All this went on, no job, so I'm trying to make a living with livestock. And so I went and met Dwayne to back the church and said, hey, I can go, but I have no money to go, but I'd be willing to go.
Yeah.
He said, okay, I would say, we'll look into it. So the next day I'm sitting in a house and I hear us knock at the door, and it's Dwayne, Pastor Dwayne Rice. He says, well, we got all your expenses covered, and here's $200 to spend on patting the boys.
Oh. So you knew. Yeah. You gotta go.
So I said, well, I guess I'm stuck now. I can't get out now.
Yeah.
So time come, and it's not easy to leave when you got all this livestock.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
that
Yeah.
livestock. How do you leave town and tell, okay, this is what you got to do, this is what's coming up, and have to deal with it?
It's like another round of. It's like your kids, but these are also your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's
And
very
both-
extensive.
And
And
yes.
both of them take attention.
It is
Yeah.
hard to
They,
leave.
they can't survive
And
on
both
their
need
own.
different things.
Yeah. And there's a way you do it, and
Yes.
you know what to do. And,
You know all the ins and outs.
right.
Yeah.
So anyway, but surprisingly, I had a peace about going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's had to be a God thing at that time. Not that I thought that was a God thing, but it had to
Right.
give me a peace of mind that it will be okay if you go.
Did Uncle Lynn take care of the pigs?
He helped. My dad helped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Patty did some stuff. And so we go down to Mexico City. We were building closets, and we got there probably late in the day. And I get up the next morning, go down to the kitchen because I'm an early riser, and Brenda Chiveria was in the kitchen. Manny and Brenda Chiveria.
Fly.
They were missionaries from our church. That really nice people. And Brenda, if you ever knew Brenda, she would walk down the streets in Mexico City in the really tough areas in a clown suit. Hola, hola.
That's hilarious.
She learned.
awesome.
She knew Spanish, and she's getting all these kids that come to the church for Bible school and stuff. But she was really very open and friendly, and you know,
A great lady.
yeah.
Good where she's meant to be there.
And I no longer sit down. She gives me a cup of coffee, and she goes, "Well, when did you get saved?" I thought, "Oh no, it's starting already. I just got here. I'm gonna have to deal with these crazy Christian people. I just come down to help. I don't want to have
just
to.
want to build something.
I just want to build something. I don't want to have to put up with these goofy Christians." I mean, I went to church, but not to the level that born again people are. And I said, well, it's kind of a gradual thing for me. I went to church for years, you know, and I'm sure she thought, yeah, right. This guy knows what born again is. So I bluffed my way through it, and we were building closets, like I said. And in Mexico, everything is built with concrete or concrete block. Nothing is easy. You just don't start driving nails in anything. Plus, when you order a 2x4 down there, it could measure 2 inches by 4 inches. And here they measure 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. Every one of them measures 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. You might get a full 2 and a full 4, or a 1 and a 2. It's hard telling.
Yeah.
So when you're building stuff and trying to get it to match, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
You order a box of nails, and there might be a 2-inch nail. They're supposed to be 4 inches and 6 inches, all in the same box. And plus, you had to drill in concrete and attach stuff to concrete, which is hard to do without splitting stuff. But I was not happy, to say the least. I don't know if I cussed or not, which is my go-to area, but I was frustrated beyond belief. Thing I forgot to mention, I was going, I told my orthopedic doctor I was going to Mexico City. I had terrible pain. I wanted to get some major pain pills. And he says, no, I'm not going to give you pain pills. I said, it's been like 2 years. I've never taken any pills. I said, I'm going on a mission trip. I want to be able to get through it. We begged him. And finally he said, okay, I'll give you some. So he'd given me the pain pills to take down. And I get down there, and I get a fold-out bed with like a 2-inch mattress.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm going, oh, how am I going to deal with this back pain and a mattress like that? I said, these pills will be gone in no time. So we worked on stuff, and I dealt with it. And we were evening time one time, and these crazy Christians were over in the corner praying out loud, just rattling stuff off, and they were even talking in tongues. Which I thought, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into?
What's this?
They're talking in tongues. What is this? And for a lot of people, they feel uncomfortable about tongues, but it's in the Bible and it's a gift. So it's not like it's not acceptable.
It's a weird one, though.
But it is.
Or, you know, if you're not used to it.
It is odd if you've never been around it.
It would make you more think even more like, what have I done?
Yeah.
And well, Patty's mom actually talked in tongues at times. And I thought, oh, no. So I'm sitting there with Manny Shivery, the missionary, and we were talking about that stuff and everything, and he asked me about being saved, and I said, well, no, not really. And I said, went to church all my life and don't really know what being saved is.
Yeah.
And he asked me if I believed in God and Jesus. I said, yeah. You believe he died on the cross? I said, yeah. I believe he rose from the grave? I said, yeah. I don't know how convinced. I mean, yeah, it's in the Bible. Okay, I'll buy that. And I said, well, you ready to accept Jesus as your Savior? I go, not really. You know, no. I said, I don't feel that inside me right now. So he kept talking on and on about it. And I said, no. We'd go over some more things. He said, no. I said, well, do you have any sin in your life? And I said, well, yeah. So I, apologized for something. He said, well, you're ready to accept Jesus now? I said, no, I don't feel it. And he said, well, any other sin in your life? I said, yeah, I got in some pretty major arguments with my dad over the years, cussing and swearing, over dumb stuff, obviously. So I asked for forgiveness for that, and he said, okay. He said, are you ready to accept Christ as your Savior? I said, no, I still don't feel right. And he said, well, well, do you have other sin in your life? I said, yeah. I said, it's been pretty cruel to God for all he put me through. And I cussed him constantly for that. And I said, I need forgiveness for that. And then he led me through the Christian prayer, and I accepted Christ that night. And I spent the whole night reading the book of James.
The book of James.
It wasn't John 3:16, although that was the process. But it was the book of James that got me there.
That's the book that brought me back.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And one of the verses in there is your tongue. It might be small, but it gets you into all kinds of trouble.
Wow.
And it did.
It leads you like a horse's bridle.
Yep. And a rudder on a ship is a small thing.
Is that where it says the tongue sets fire as well?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
A tongue is a rudder of a ship is a small thing, but it turns a big ship.
Yeah.
And that all hit home. I was up all night. I didn't go to sleep at all that night. Read the entire book of James.
It was like God was talking to you.
Yeah. And surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, I got up the next morning and working with that odd nails, and it went smooth and I never got upset once the whole time. So anyway, I got saved that night, and we came back to Baer, and like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to give my testimony that day because I was so excited.
Yeah. You felt like when you were saved, did you feel like lighter? What did you feel?
That was part of my testimony I was going over. Is I felt like the weight of the world was off my shoulders.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't imagine how good that feeling was.
Yeah.
It was the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
You don't realize how much you're carrying until you let God
Give it
take
all.
it. Yes.
Give it all. So
But that takes a strength in and of itself.
Yeah. So I got back and wanted to do my testimony that Sunday, and he said, "Now you better wait." And that's how the whole thing. I had all those trophies, but it didn't get me into heaven. And that was a song them girls picked that day for that one particular service. I was just shocked. So anyway, I didn't give my testimony that weekend. Patty came home from Columbus, and they walked up the house, and she said, "Did you miss us?" And I go, "No." I went, "Oh, pretty stupid thing to say." I should have said, "Yeah, but I'm pretty excited."
I'm gonna tell you something.
There's so much that's happened.
But I didn't tell her anything at that point. I may have told her over the phone, maybe, I don't remember.
Okay.
But I was head out to the barn when they pulled in to do the chores. So Wes is all excited, I said, "Well, I'll go out with you." Yeah, I'll go out with you. I said, "Okay, come on, let's go." So go out to the barn, open the door, and we have
It's Jesse.
we have 12 sows, and they're all out. They all get out of the crates. So they're running up and down the aisles. 120 pigs everywhere, running up and down the aisles.
Satan trying to.
Oh yeah,
Ripping
broken
it
straw
already.
bells broken everywhere. Bags of feed broken, scattered everywhere. The whole place was a mess. And I said, "Okay, Wes, let's clean it up." That did not happen very often. I said, "Okay, Wes, let's clean this up."
Meaning before you would have been mad.
Oh, I'd have beat them all, putting them in the pens, and getting them all cleaned up, cussing them out. But I told Wes, "Well, let's clean this up, Wes." So he took care of it and went back to the house, and Wes got a hold of Patty. Says, "I need to talk to you." She said, "Okay." He said, "Well, can we go upstairs?" So him and Wes and Patty went upstairs.
How old was he? or estimate?
It'd been 93,
So
11.
11.
93, he was 11. He said,
Adam's age, basically.
Dad's different.
Mm-hmm.
He said he didn't get mad. He said, I want that. I don't know why, but I want that. Whatever it was, I want that. And Patty said he accepted Jesus as his Savior. He said, I want to do that. So Wes accepted Jesus that night because how much I had changed.
Wow.
You don't realize how much kids pay attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a kid, a grandchild, foster kid, a kid that you're teaching in class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can affect their life forever,
Yes.
and how you talk to them and how you behave.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about these people make fun of Christians. Oh, you Christians think you're so good. And they watch you to see what you do and how you react. And I still struggle at times with my temper. I still struggle sometimes with my choice of words. I tell the boys all the time, don't do something because bad habits are hard to get rid of. And I will tell you this, I still screw up. And if we were perfect, Christ would have died a horrible death for nothing if we were perfect.
Yeah.
He's always there intercessing on our behalf. And the thing I will tell you now, I still screw up, but I'm convicted.
Yeah.
The Holy Spirit convicts me that that's not right. So I do it. I have to ask for forgiveness. Now, people out in public don't know that, so they still assume you guys know better than I am. But the difference is you know you're wrong. And you probably should go back and tell them, I'm sorry I said that in front of you, and I ask God to forgive me.
Yeah.
Let's see what else.
How many missions trips have you been on?
I've been to the Dominican Republic, Haiti. Those are both construction projects. I'm not sure if I did 2 construction in Mexico.
Dad was on one with you, so I was trying to figure out
That was
where
basketball.
it was. That was basketball.
I'm thinking I may have done 2 basketball. I'm not sure, but I do remember going with Steve. I went to Honduras to a boys' farm. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was another one. And then I told our pastor every day I would go to Dominican again in the first of the year. So several. But I got my upward shirt on, but I've been doing upwards for 21.
Yeah.
I ref 4 hours a day every Saturday for about 6 weeks. Never really given the full testimony there because you can't. Not enough time. But I usually, most years I've given 1, maybe sometimes 2 if somebody couldn't show up that day.
Yeah.
So I do try to share the Lord with people.
Yeah.
Not as much as I should. I should do my full testimony more, but that's what, Megan and I got talking. That's how I ended up here today. I hope it wasn't too confusing for you, but
No,
No,
you're
it's
very
great.
clear spoken.
Oh yeah, you do better than us.
oh,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess
Hey, I appreciate you doing those 3-minute
oh,
halftime testimonies.
oh,
It's my job to assign those.
Well, you have to ask
Half
Mike, because I
times.
don't like to barge in, but,
You can always barge.
if
I
you-
know you say that you. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
That's right.
I know you say that you still lose your temper, but honestly, you're probably one of the most even-keeled people I know.
Oh, well.
For real. Like, I think that's a testament to what the Lord's done in your life. And yes, I'm not saying you're perfect. We all screw up, but would you say it was a radical transformation
Oh, yeah.
for you?
Yeah, I've told people for years I was radically saved,
Mm-hmm.
and of course that was the musician Carmen. I don't remember Carmen, but he used to do one of his songs about being radically saved, or part of his program. And I was radically saved, and Patty goes, "I wasn't radically saved. Am I not saved?"
No.
I said, "No, it doesn't have to be radical. It could be
It's
however
all
you want."
different.
But the thing I guess last thing I'd like to point out is I have 4 sons, and it could have been girls, it doesn't make any difference. But they're, well, 3 of them are pretty well walking with the Lord, and 1's not. But if all 4 of them are walking with the Lord, and they have 4, and they have 4, and they have 4. Just look how it's the geometric progression thing, or pyramid cell scheme, where how it just explodes by passing it on. And I just think that's pretty cool that you could expand the kingdom if you accept Jesus as your Savior and raise your family to be that way.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Bruce, because we just did a podcast on prayer, and I've always been a prayer, as I say this, but I have upped my prayer game, so to say. And I have very specifically, almost every morning, been praying, Lord, may our family here be a legacy for Christ in this generation, in my children, in my grandchildren, in my great-grandchildren. And I'm praying for that diligently.
Yeah.
So, and you and Patty, you are a mother and a father to me. You've set, I can't name how many things you guys have just done by example and by love that has impacted my life. So,
Well, we definitely consider her a blood daughter almost. But, yeah.
someone had to take Jesse on.
Yeah, he's off our shoulder. We make fun of Jesse, but he's
Oh gosh, he's so loving and so fun.
You'll never, I tell Evan all the time, you'll never find a nicer boy than Jesse.
That's true.
But
He's
yeah,
a winner.
one other Bible verse that I always remember is I'm not sure which one it is, but Satan is to kill, steal, and destroy.
Yeah.
He killed my son. He stole money from me because we were trying to get into farming, and he destroyed my health.
Yeah, he went after you.
And those 3 things just always, Satan's out to kill, steal, and destroy.
But God protected you. It's amazing, really, looking back on it. The miracle of, one, Jesse surviving, him not being paralyzed, you not being paralyzed.
And surviving.
I mean, I know you don't remember pulling yourself out, but my mind goes to, maybe you weren't alone pulling yourself
Well,
out.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
Like
'cause
maybe there were some angels pulling you out.
they definitely protect my back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
holding that back. Who knows?
Yeah. And now he's using all of it
To serve.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a point. Does your back bother you now? Or is it as bad as they said it would be?
Well, I still have some aches and pains, but nothing.
Nothing like this.
Nothing compared. And that, I don't know if you caught that point, but that was 10 years.
Yeah. And here we are 30 years later.
Yeah. And I have a better back than probably 90% of the people my age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're in great
Well, I
shape.
had another point I was going to bring up, and I forgot. Can't remember now.
I'm not good at Penny's tail.
It was a good point.
We've
It was
had.
a good point,
Oh, I'm
too.
sorry if I threw you off.
No, it's all right.
Well, that's a powerful testimony. I mean,
It is.
I've heard the stories before, but there are details there that I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I remember, I was telling Bruce this before and Meg beforehand, but I remember Dad having Bruce's testimony on a cassette tape, and I was driving in the backseat of the car,
All right.
and we were listening to it because he wanted me to hear it, and I was young, so I didn't fully,
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
everything.
Oh.
And now, just hearing it, it's amazing. It's impactful.
It's a testimony to the love of Christ, the
Mhm.
transforming love of Christ, and
Yeah.
how it can take your life from one way to another.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just remembered.
Okay.
Good.
I could have been killed. Very easy, I could have been killed. Like I said, a guy in Fort Wayne while I was in the hospital was killed in a trench cave in. And I should have been paralyzed from the waist down.
Mm.
And I think all the time, God had a plan.
Yes.
I was going to go on 10 mission trips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was going to run down the floor for 21 years,
Yeah.
refereeing little kids, giving testimonies.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so now I'm convinced, okay, I went through all that stuff, and I'm not sure what Bible verse it is, but God can take what Satan meant for evil, God can use for good.
He always redeems for good.
Yes.
We don't necessarily see it, but I believe that in my heart always. And it
Mhm.
might not be what we want or
Yeah.
how we want, but He will.
It usually looks
He
nothing
will.
like what we expect.
Yeah, and so I tell myself, you better keep doing it because he can take it away from you in a heartbeat.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I think of when Jesse's my husband, and we, Patty and I have talked like, well, why did Jesse live? And, Adam, you can ask yourself that question. But I mean, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Jesse. Like I said, you guys have impacted my life. My sister's now here. I just see fruit from your whole
Well, that's,
story.
that geometric progression.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I praise God for it. I give Him all the glory. And
For years, I felt that I should present it to more people.
yeah,
One-on-one, it's hard to do one-on-one, like you guys. But if we're on a podcast, you're talking to a lot of people, but that's a lot of information for one-on-one,
yeah,
Not that you shouldn't do that, don't get me wrong. But I do give snippets.
There's
Yeah.
a sacred space for it.
yes. Like in a conversation, there's a way to allude to it, but
Mhm.
it's nice to hear it all
Yeah.
in one fell swoop.
'Cause
Yeah.
I'm on a tip, but that's a lot.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
It's powerful. So I've been feeling like we need to say this more, Kylie. Please share this podcast. Share this one because I feel Bruce's story is powerful, and he gives glory to Christ, and I feel it can impact many people.
Oh yeah.
All for the glory of Jesus. Leave us a review and share this.
Yes.
Anything else, Bruce? Any other closing thoughts?
I didn't tell you today because I want your sympathy, because there's always somebody who has it worse than what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Always somebody has it worse than I did. And if this could help them, praise God.
Praise
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Amen.
Bruce, thank you so much for coming on and
Midwest
sharing it.
girls.
Midwest girls. Oh, I just love you and Patty. I think of you as all as family.
Yeah.
I know I could call you or Patty, and you guys treat me like another daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Just makes friends.
I could go with that. Yeah.
But
Just more testimony to God's goodness.
yes, it's your life and has impacted so many, including mine.
Mm-hmm.
So
Praise God.
Yeah,
Amen.
yeah.
Yes.
But
Right.
thank you everybody for listening, and we'll be back soon.
Yes.
See ya.
Bye.
That was great.
That was
Was it?
awesome, Bruce.
It was great.
Well, I was afraid I'd screw up too much.
Oh
You
no.
didn't screw up at all. Oh, Kylie, I don't know the password.
Oh man, my legs are.
That was great.
That was really good.